What if I told you that the reason you can't lose excess weight isn't calories or a slow metabolism? Research shows that the average person's intestines can accumulate from 3 to 8 kilograms of unprocessed waste. This is not a metaphor. It is real ballast that presses on the organs, poisons the blood with toxins, and literally blocks fat burning. Your body cannot lose weight while it is busy fighting internal contamination. But here's what's interesting. Nature came up with a solution thousands of years ago. And it's not pills, not detox programs that cost hundreds of dollars, and not fasting. It's oil. 6 oils that start working from the very first night. They soften stagnant waste, stimulate peristalsis, activate the liver, and switch the body into fat-burning mode while you sleep. Today, I'm going to show you each one of them, how they work, how to take them, and how they fit into one simple evening ritual. Watch until the end, because the 6th oil will surprise you the most. Let's begin. Imagine a drainage pipe that hasn't been cleaned for years. Water still flows, but slowly, with difficulty, and with a foul smell. That is exactly how the inside of most people looks when they just can't lose weight. Here's what happens inside. Processed food, sugar, antibiotics, and stress damage the gut. A so-called intestinal plaque forms, a layer of mucus and debris that sticks to the walls and can remain there for years. And this is where the most important part begins. This plaque produces endotoxins, poisons that are absorbed into the bloodstream and go straight to the liver. The liver is the body's main fat-burning organ. When it is overloaded with toxins, it stops processing fat properly, completely. This is called metabolic blockage. You can eat less and exercise more, but the fat still won't go away. The reason is that the system is clogged. Add bloating, fatigue, brain fog, and sugar cravings. These are all symptoms of the same problem. The good news is that the blockage can be removed, fast, without harsh diets and expensive procedures. And this is exactly where the 6 oils I'm talking about come into play right now. The first oil on our list was known even to the ancient Egyptians. They called it the palm of Christ and used it to cleanse the body long before modern medicine existed. Today, science understands why it worked and why it still works. Castor oil contains a unique fatty acid, ricinoleic acid. It is not absorbed in the small intestine, but moves farther down into the large intestine. There, it binds to special receptors and literally triggers contraction movements. The intestines begin actively pushing waste forward. This is not a laxative effect in the usual sense. It is a deep mechanical cleansing. But the most interesting part happens next. Ricinoleic acid has powerful anti-inflammatory effects. It reduces irritation in the intestinal walls, restores the mucosal lining, and helps remove that very dangerous plaque we talked about in the previous section. When toxins stop entering the bloodstream, the liver gets a break. And this is exactly when it returns to its main task, processing fat. Research confirms another effect of castor oil. It stimulates the lymphatic system, and lymph is the drainage system of the immune system, where the waste products of fat cells accumulate. Simply put, castor oil opens 2 cleansing pathways at the same time. How to take it? 1 teaspoon of castor oil, 30 to 40 minutes before bed. Drink it with a glass of warm water with lemon. Do not exceed the dose. This is enough. You will feel the effect by morning. Important. Choose cold-pressed oil, processed without chemicals. Only this kind of oil preserves all active compounds. That's the first oil, and already, it alone can change how you feel the next morning. But the second one works in a completely different way. The second oil is found in almost every kitchen, but very few people use it correctly. Olive oil has existed for more than 6,000 years. The Greeks called it liquid gold, and not just because of its color, because of what it did to the people who drank it every day. Today, science explains this effect precisely and clearly. The main component of olive oil is oleic acid. This is a monounsaturated fatty acid that, once it enters the digestive system, does something remarkable. It stimulates the release of cholecystokinin, a hormone that signals the gallbladder to release bile, and bile is the body's main tool for digesting fats. When the gallbladder works actively, fats from food stop being stored as reserves. They are broken down and used as energy. This is a direct metabolic effect, not theory, but physiology. But olive oil goes further. It contains oleocanthal, a natural, anti-inflammatory compound whose mechanism of action is similar to ibuprofen. Chronic intestinal inflammation is one of the main reasons fat accumulates in the abdominal area and does not go away even with proper nutrition. Oleocanthal suppresses this inflammation at the cellular level. In addition, olive oil lubricates the intestinal walls, improves the passage of food waste, and reduces the risk of forming the toxic plaque we talked about earlier. There is another little-known effect. Olive oil activates receptors in the small intestine that send a signal to the brain, a signal of fullness. As a result, you naturally begin eating less without tension or hunger. How to take it? 1 tablespoon of high-quality extra virgin olive oil in the morning on an empty stomach. 20 minutes before food, you can add a few drops of lemon juice to increase the bile-stimulating effect. In the evening, it can be used as a dressing for a light salad. The main thing is not to heat it. At high temperatures, oleocanthal is destroyed, and the oil loses part of its healing properties. Choose oil in a dark glass bottle labeled extra virgin and with a pressing date. Everything else is marketing without substance. 2 oils are already in your arsenal. One works at night, the second in the morning. Together, they start cleansing and activate fat burning from 2 sides. But the third oil uses a completely different mechanism, the one all keto followers talk about. And here is why they are right. Coconut oil was demonized for a long time. Doctors warned against it because of its saturated fats. Dietitians crossed it off their lists of healthy foods. And while this was happening, thousands of people around the world were quietly losing weight by adding it to their morning coffee. Who turned out to be right? Science has already answered that. The secret of coconut oil lies in a special type of fat, medium-chain triglycerides, or MCTs. Unlike regular fats, which first enter the lymphatic system and only then slowly reach the bloodstream, MCTs are absorbed directly into the liver, immediately. And this is where something fundamentally important happens. The liver turns MCTs not into fat stores, but into ketones. This is an alternative energy source that the body can use instead of glucose. When ketones enter the blood, the body switches into fat-burning mode. And first of all, it starts burning visceral fat, the most dangerous fat around the internal organs, the one that is hardest to target with regular diets. This is not a keto diet. You do not need to give up carbohydrates. MCTs from coconut oil simply activate the same mechanism, locally and gently. But the effects do not stop there. Coconut oil contains lauric acid, a powerful antimicrobial compound. In the gut, it acts like a cleaner. It suppresses the growth of pathogenic microorganisms, fungi, and parasites that produce toxins and interfere with nutrient absorption. A healthy microbiome is not just a trendy phrase, it is directly connected to how your body regulates weight. Studies show that overweight people have a gut colony composition that is dramatically different from that of people at a healthy weight. Lauric acid helps shift that balance in the right direction. There is another effect that is rarely discussed. Coconut oil significantly reduces inflammation in the intestinal lining. An irritated, inflamed gut absorbs nutrients poorly and constantly sends stress signals to the brain. This triggers the release of cortisol, the stress hormone that directly stimulates fat storage in the abdominal area. Coconut oil breaks this vicious cycle. How to take it? Start with 1 teaspoon per day. This is important. Do not exceed the dose during the first week. The intestines need time to gradually adapt to MCTs. Add it to your morning coffee or tea, or use it for light sautéing of vegetables over low heat. After 1 week, you can increase it to 1 tablespoon per day. Choose unrefined cold-pressed coconut oil with a natural coconut aroma. Refined oil has been chemically processed and has lost most of its active components. So, 3 oils, 3 different mechanisms: intestinal cleansing, bile activation, and ketone-based fat burning. Each works on its own, but together they create a synergy your body can feel in the very first days. The 4th oil works more quietly, but more deeply. It works where the others simply do not reach. Attention! All information in this video is intended for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Before trying any recommendations, consult a doctor, especially if you have chronic conditions or take medications. Results are individual and not guaranteed. The author is not responsible for the consequences of self-applying this information. There is one oil that people talk about the least: It is not as exotic as black seed oil and not as trendy as coconut oil. It stands modestly on the shelf in a pharmacy or health food store, and most people walk right past it. That is a big mistake. Flaxseed oil is one of the most powerful tools in nature for restoring the body from within. And here is why. The inside of the intestine is covered with a protective lining. This is not just a barrier, it is living tissue through which nutrients are absorbed and which keeps toxins from entering the bloodstream. When this lining is damaged, what doctors call increased intestinal permeability begins. Toxins leak into the blood. The immune system reacts with chronic stress. Metabolism slows down. Fat stops leaving the body. Flaxseed oil supports this lining. It contains a record amount of alpha-lanolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3. This acid affects cell membranes and literally makes them more flexible, resilient, and resistant to damage. Cells begin functioning properly, letting in what is needed and keeping out what is harmful. But this is only the first level of action. Flaxseed oil contains unique compounds, lignans. These are plant estrogens that are converted in the intestine into enterolactone and enterodiol. It sounds complicated, but the effect is simple and very practical. These compounds regulate hormonal balance and reduce excess estrogen in the body. And excess estrogen is one of the main reasons fat accumulates around the hips, waist, and stomach, especially in women over 30, especially with a sedentary lifestyle. The lignans in flaxseed oil gently and naturally correct this imbalance. Now let's talk about the mechanical side of the issue. Flaxseed oil works as a natural lubricant for the digestive tract. It coats the intestinal walls, reduces friction, and helps waste move through. If castor oil stimulates active contractions of the intestines, flaxseed oil creates the conditions for that process to happen smoothly, gently, and without irritation. This is especially important for people who suffer from chronic constipation, bloating, and discomfort after meals. There is one more little-known fact. The omega-3s in flaxseed oil reduce triglyceride levels in the blood, and this is directly linked to faster fat burning. High triglyceride levels block lipolysis, the process by which fat cells release stored fat. When triglycerides go down, fat cells literally open up and begin releasing stored fat for energy. This is not a metaphor. This is biochemistry. How to take it: 1 tablespoon of flaxseed oil in the evening, 1 hour before bed. You can add it to kefir, natural yogurt, or simply wash it down with a glass of water. Never heat flaxseed oil. Omega-3 fatty acids break down at temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius and turn into harmful compounds. Store the oil in a dark, cool place, and always in a dark glass bottle. Flaxseed oil oxidizes very quickly. Rancid oil is not only useless, but harmful. Check the production date and use it within 1 month after opening. Choose cold-pressed oil without additives or preservatives. Only this kind preserves the full spectrum of omega-3s and lignans. 4 oils, and each solves its own task: cleansing, bile activation, ketone fat burning, and restoration of the intestinal lining. The foundation is already set. The 5th oil is a completely different story. Behind it are not just folk traditions, but serious scientific studies, and one component in its composition changes the body at the molecular level. There's an ancient Arabic proverb: black seed cures everything except death. This is not poetic exaggeration. It is a 1,000-year-old healing tradition that modern science has begun confirming study after study. Black seed oil, Nigella sativa, has been studied in medical laboratories around the world for more than 40 years. The results are so impressive that this ingredient is appearing more and more often in serious scientific journals next to pharmaceutical drugs. But let's begin with the main point. The active substance in black seed oil is thymoquinone. This is a natural compound unlike anything else in the plant world. It is responsible for most of the effects that make this oil so remarkable. The first and most important action of thymoquinone is anti-inflammatory. Chronic low-grade inflammation is the invisible enemy of the modern person. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't have obvious symptoms, but it is exactly what slows metabolism, disrupts hormones, and creates an environment where fat accumulates faster than it burns. Thymoquinone blocks key inflammatory markers. In particular, it suppresses the activity of the cyclooxygenase enzyme and lowers the level of pro-inflammatory cytokines. This is the same pathway targeted by many anti-inflammatory drugs, only without the side effects. When chronic inflammation goes down, metabolism wakes up. The second mechanism is its effect on insulin resistance. Clinical studies show that regular intake of black seed oil lowers fasting glucose levels and improves the sensitivity of cells to insulin. This is important for people who are overweight because insulin resistance is the main mechanism that forces the body to store fat instead of burning it. Simply put, thymoquinone helps cells hear insulin signals again and use glucose as fuel instead of storing it as fat. The third effect concerns the intestines directly. Black seed oil has powerful antibacterial and antifungal actions. It suppresses the growth of Candida, a yeast fungus that in many overweight people is present in the intestines in excessive amounts. Candida literally demands sugar. It is what creates overwhelming cravings for sweets, baked goods, and fast carbohydrates. By reducing Candida, black seed oil removes one of the main saboteurs of any diet. But that is not all. A study published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology showed that participants who took black seed oil for 8 weeks lost significantly more weight than the control group. At the same time, they did not change their diet or physical activity level. The only variable was black seed oil. Thymoquinone also stimulates the production of adiponectin, a hormone produced by fat cells that, paradoxically, accelerates fat burning. In people with obesity, adiponectin levels are usually reduced. Black seed oil helps restore them to a normal level. This means one thing: the body starts regulating its hormonal metabolism on its own, without harsh restrictions or exhausting workouts. How to take it? Half a teaspoon of black seed oil twice a day, morning and evening, best taken on an empty stomach or 30 minutes before meals. The taste is distinctive, sharp, and slightly bitter. If it is difficult to take on its own, mix it with a teaspoon of natural honey. Honey adds anti-inflammatory benefits and makes the taste softer. One important point: do not heat this oil. Thymoquinone is very sensitive to temperature and breaks down when heated. Only cold intake preserves the full activity of the compound. Choose first cold-pressed oil made from Nigella sativa seeds. Pay attention to the thymoquinone content. In a high-quality product, it should be at least 0.5%. 5 oils already behind us. Each one of them on its own could already change the way your body and metabolism work. But the 6th oil stands apart. It does not soothe, and it does not cleanse. It attacks. It literally heats the body from the inside and forces fat cells to burn, even at rest. Ginger oil is not what most people keep in their kitchen. It is not just a spice, and not just something to add to tea. It is one of the most powerful natural thermogenic agents ever studied by science. But let's start with what makes it truly famous. The main active compound in ginger oil is gingerol. In dried ginger, part of it turns into shogal, an even more powerful version of the same substance. Together, they create an effect scientists call thermogenesis, the literal increase of body temperature from within. And here is why that matters for fat burning. When body temperature rises, metabolism speeds up. The body starts spending more calories simply to maintain that temperature. This is called adaptive thermogenesis, and it is exactly the principle many expensive fat-burning supplements work on. Ginger oil activates the same process, free of synthetic chemicals, without complications. But thermogenesis is only the beginning. Gingerol acts directly on fat cells through special receptors, TRPV1. These are the same receptors that react strongly to capsaicin. When these receptors are activated, fat cells literally receive a signal: start lipolysis. That means begin breaking down stored fat and releasing it into the bloodstream as fuel. This is not an additional effect, it is a direct molecular action on fat tissue. Now about the gut. Ginger oil is one of the most powerful stimulators of digestive enzymes among all known natural substances. It increases the production of lipase, the main enzyme for fat digestion. It increases the production of amylase, the enzyme for carbohydrate digestion. And it significantly speeds up gastric emptying, the time it takes for food to leave the stomach and move farther through the intestines. What does that mean in practice? Food does not sit in the stomach, it does not ferment, it does not rot, it does not produce toxins. It is digested and eliminated quickly and efficiently, and nutrients are absorbed as fully as possible. Bloating after meals, heaviness in the stomach, the feeling that digestion is stuck, all of these are symptoms of slow gastric transit. Ginger oil addresses them at the root. There is another effect people rarely mention. Gingerol strongly suppresses the activity of an enzyme called 11-beta-hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase. You do not need to remember the name. What matters is understanding what it does. This enzyme converts inactive cortisone into cortisol directly inside abdominal fat tissue. Cortisol is the stress hormone. It is exactly what is responsible for the buildup of visceral fat around the stomach. That is why chronic stress makes the waistline larger, even if you are doing everything else right. Gingerol blocks this process locally, right inside the fat cells themselves. This means less cortisol, where it does the most damage. Clinical studies confirm regular intake of ginger significantly improves weight loss results compared with diet alone. In one trial, participants lost an average of 2.5 more centimeters from their waist, simply by adding ginger to their diet without any other changes. But even that is not the end. Ginger oil has a strong prebiotic effect. It feeds beneficial gut bacteria, in particular lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. These bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids, butyrate, propionate, and acetate. They nourish intestinal cells, restore the mucosal lining, and, importantly, directly inhibit fat accumulation in the liver. A healthy microbiome, plus a faster metabolism, plus direct action on fat cells, all at once, in one oil. How to take it? Here it is important to distinguish between two forms. The first option is ginger essential oil. This is a concentrate. It must never be taken directly in pure form. Add 2 to 3 drops to 1 tablespoon of a carrier oil, coconut or olive oil, and take this mixture 30 minutes before meals, or use it for abdominal massage. Gingerol penetrates through the skin and acts locally on fat tissue. The second option is food-grade cold-pressed ginger oil. It can be taken directly, 1 teaspoon in the morning on an empty stomach. Add it to smoothies, salad dressings, or warm tea at a temperature no higher than 50 degrees Celsius. Evening intake is especially effective. Ginger's thermogenic effect develops during the night, when the body switches into recovery and active fat-burning mode. Choose oil with a gingerol and shogal content of at least 5%. This shows product activity, not just a beautiful label. So, 6 oils, 6 mechanisms. All of them attack the problem from a different angle. Castor oil mechanically cleanses the intestines. Olive oil activates bile and improves fat metabolism. Coconut oil switches the body into ketone mode. Flaxseed oil restores the intestinal wall and balances hormones. Black seed oil reduces inflammation and improves insulin resistance. Ginger oil ignites fat cells from the inside. Separately, each one already changes metabolism, but what happens when you combine all 6 into one evening ritual? That is exactly what the next chapter is about. A specific protocol, exact dosages, a step-by-step plan for tonight. Knowing about oils is one thing, but using them correctly, at the right time, and in the right combinations, that is something completely different. This is exactly where most people make mistakes and do not get results. Now, I'm going to give you the exact plan, no fluff, only specifics. The protocol is divided into 3 blocks, morning, day, and evening. But the main emphasis is on the evening ritual. It is at night that the body switches into recovery mode and maximum fat burning. That is when the oils work with the greatest efficiency. You have reached the most important part. Knowing about oils is one thing, but using them correctly, at the right time, and in the right combinations, that is something completely different. This is exactly where most people make mistakes and get no results at all. Now I'm going to give you the exact plan, no fluff, only specifics. Let's begin with the morning. Right after waking up, on an empty stomach, drink a glass of warm water with lemon. Warm water stimulates peristalsis. Lemon triggers bile production and prepares the digestive system for the oils. 10 minutes later, take the oils. 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. Drink it slowly, without rushing. Hold it in your mouth for a few seconds before swallowing. This stimulates the release of special enzymes through a reflex mechanism. Then take half a teaspoon of black seed oil. You can mix it with a teaspoon of honey if the taste is too intense. Wait 20 minutes, and only then eat breakfast. Olive oil activates the gallbladder and starts fat metabolism for the entire day. Black seed oil on an empty stomach most effectively reduces inflammation and stabilizes blood sugar levels from the very morning. These 2 oils set the tone for the whole day. At lunch, or 30 minutes after it, add 1 teaspoon of coconut oil. In coffee, in tea, in a light meal. It does not matter how. This is your daytime dose of MCTs. It supports ketone production in the blood, reduces afternoon sugar cravings, and prevents metabolism from slowing down after lunch. If you regularly feel tired and drained around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, coconut oil stabilizes this process within the very first week. And now, evening, the most important part of the protocol. 1 to 2 hours before bed. Begin with an abdominal massage. Put 2 to 3 drops of ginger essential oil mixed with 1 teaspoon of coconut oil on your palm. Massage your stomach with circular clockwise movements in the natural direction of intestinal movement for 5 minutes. The warmth you feel under your hands is the thermogenic effect of gingerol in action. It penetrates through the skin and activates local fat burning directly in the abdominal area. After the massage, give your body 10 minutes of rest, then mix 1 tablespoon of flaxseed oil and 1 teaspoon of food-grade ginger oil in a small glass. Drink this mixture slowly. Flaxseed oil softens the taste of ginger and restores the intestinal lining overnight. While you sleep, your intestines literally repair themselves. 15 minutes later, 1 teaspoon of castor oil. Wash it down with a glass of warm water. Castor oil works 6 to 8 hours after intake, which means the effect comes in the morning, gently and naturally, without spasms or discomfort. That is why it is taken in the evening, not in the morning. And finally, the second dose of black seed oil, half a teaspoon before sleep. At night, thymoquinone is most active in restoring cells, regulating hormonal balance, and continuing to suppress inflammation, while the whole body is in recovery mode. You close your eyes, and the 6 oils keep working. Now about how to enter this protocol correctly. Do not start taking all 6 oils at once on the first day. For the first 3 days, only the morning routine. On the 4th day, add coconut oil at lunch. On the 7th day, introduce the full evening ritual. The intestines need to adapt gradually. This is not weakness, this is physiology. Drink water. At least 1.5 to 2 liters per day. The oils trigger active toxin release, and without enough water, this process can cause headaches or fatigue. Water is the transport system for toxins leaving the body. Choose only cold-pressed oils without chemical processing. Refined supermarket oils do not produce the effect. They simply do not contain the active compounds we discussed. This is a strict condition without which the protocol does not work. And most importantly, consistency. 1 evening changes nothing. 7 days give the first results. 21 days create a new metabolic background. Each day adds to the previous one. The protocol works cumulatively and becomes more powerful with each week. This protocol is not a replacement for healthy eating and movement. It is a catalyst. It removes obstacles, toxins, inflammation, hormonal imbalance that have prevented your body from losing weight, even when you tried with all your strength. Remove the obstacles, and the body will begin doing what it was designed to do. Burn fat, recover, feel alive.